Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Indie Game Friday, where each week I take a look at a different independent computer role-playing game. This week I felt kind of like a budget strategy RPG, and so I dug around a bit and decided to take a look at a promising one that seems to have been a bit of a mobile port. Demon's Rise: War for the Deep from Wavelight Games Incorporated is just one of a couple Demon's Rise games on Steam. This one released on Steam on April 29th, 2018. The Demon's Rise series seems to be a set of relatively casual strategy RPGs in which you take control of a party of characters selected from a fair number of creature types and classes, and then pit them together in a strategic hex-based combat scenario linked into a vague storyline, gathering gear and money and collecting experience as you go. War for the Deep differs from the other Demon's Rise title on Steam right now, Lords of Chaos, in that it follows a more heroic storyline, focusing on your classic dungeon-crawling adventure types, delving into dens of evil at the behest of some dwarves. This is not to say that there aren't a few villainous-looking character types available, including undead and golems, merely that Lords of Chaos tended to be focused on the evil side of things, whereas this one isn't. And that is, in fact, the storyline. Some dwarves are having problems, and you are hired as an outside warband to come on in and help them against the creatures that they've uncovered. There is a central campaign series that crosses several quests, each of which has a handful of missions included. There's also a series of patrol missions that are simply unrelated single combat scenarios that you engage in at random. Each one can be played at different difficulty levels, and each one uses the same core group of 6 heroes, allowing you to accrue gear and experience between battles. That having been said, the game basically plays out in 2 modes. The camp mode allows you to access different areas via a menu system. Play quest and patrol ruins are the options allowing you to select your mission. Buy supplies opens a store where a random assortment of gear of various qualities are generated, allowing you to sell items that you find in the ruins and to buy gear to upgrade characters with. Visiting the temple allows you to donate gold for favor, and favor allows you to request a group-wide buff during combat. Visiting the tavern allows you to hire mercenaries that fight in addition to your group for a set number of fights, or replace one of your current heroes with another class if they just aren't working out. You can also manage your gear to sort your inventory and equip items, view the world map, which gives lore on various terms and place names throughout the game, and finally play through some in-game tutorials, which honestly in truth aren't very helpful. The out-of-combat menus are sort of clunky, but they get the job done. The combat system itself is what dominates the majority of gameplay, and is thus the real draw of the game. Whether playing a pre-made party or designing your own, your team consists of 6 heroes. In the case of your own party, you select them from a variety of pre-made heroes of different classes, each of which has its own special ability scores and statistics as well as skills. Each character has a name, a unique class, a total of hit points and action points, and then a series of other statistics that define them. This list includes offensive stats, their attacks per turn, their damage, their skill at attacking, and their crit chance, as well as their attack range and hexes. Defensive stats include armor, dodge chance, and critical immunity percentage. Miscellaneous stats boil down to mobility and courage/intimidation, which play into the morale system. Finally, there are abilities which include the various skills a character can use during combat. Each unique character is also limited as to what weapons and armor they can equip. For instance, an archer is only going to be able to use bows, while a wizard is going to be limited to magic staffs. Some weapons can be used by multiple character types, however. For instance, most fighter types can use hand weapons, which includes most basic single-handed weaponry. Once you're actually in combat, things are fairly straightforward. Characters have health displayed on their screen, action points, and then whether they've used their moves or attacks that round. Hit points are self-explanatory. If you lose them, the character dies. As opposed to other action point systems, in Demon's Rise, action points start low and then build up over combat, according to a character's action point recovery rate. When they reach certain thresholds, they can use their abilities. The more powerful abilities require you to accrue more action points, which may require several rounds to build up. During a turn, any character can move and act in any order, And in fact, one can move a character and then another character, then continue to move the first characters if they still have movement points or attacks left. This can be very useful to get weaker characters in and then out of melee, or to cut off enemy movement. Each character can move according to their movement points, along with basic attacks up to their number of attacks per round, and use any abilities that they have action points for. Activating an ability does not count towards a character's attacks, so it can be very possible to use an ability that includes an attack or some sort of damage in it, then actually attack as well, allowing you to stack damage pretty high. Most abilities have cooldowns or limits on the number of times that ability can be used in a particular combat, but others don't. For instance, the Elven Paladin's Shield Bash doesn't seem to have a cooldown, so given enough action points, they can actually Shield Bash multiple times, in addition to the normal attacks that they get. Being in close proximity to creatures can activate the morale system, which can penalize characters when they are faced with dangerous threats. In general, melee characters will tend to have high courage and intimidation, whereas ranged and casters will tend to have lower ones. So if your casters get surrounded by melee people, they may well become panicked. Moving around the battlefield can also allow you to position your characters behind or adjacent to full cover or partial cover, utilizing a system that's become common with XCOM-style combat systems. On the battlefield, you'll sometimes see various scrolls, potions, and gold, which enemies can also drop when slain. Taking up gold adds it to your total for that battle whether you win or lose, but if you don't pick it up, you still get it at the end of the battle. Potions and scrolls are used instantly and may provide several effects, such as increasing the character's attack or dodge rate, or healing them for a random amount. As they cannot be saved, they should be picked up on a character that actually needs them. Enemy units can also pick them up as well, so be mindful if an enemy is near one. Other things, such as levers, chests, doors, and mystical obelisks and stones, can provide some degree of challenge or variation on a particular map, either granting boons or opening the way for more monsters to approach. If you take too long on some maps, more foes may join the battle as well. After eliminating every enemy on a map, your units gain experience, which can result in leveling up after a set amount. Characters that level up automatically gain bonuses and certain background statistics based on their class. You can also get a certain amount of loot, which may or may not be useful to your particular party, and the option to go on or return to camp. Dead characters are revived between combats, and you can pick up the main quest anytime you want, so going back to camp is really only necessary if you want to cash in on the drops you've acquired and buy other gear. Of course, there are some minor bugs. The most annoying one is one that seems to have been worked on but not entirely finished fixing, and it actually struck me during play. Rarely, if you finish a turn, the NPCs just don't take their turn, and you're stuck kind of hung there in limbo until you restart the map or load a prior save. Now, it only happened to me once, but it's still worth noting. Further, I had an item just vanish while I was looting. Again, only happened once, but it's notable that little bugs are here and there. Overall, though, for a casual game, and even one that's clearly a mobile port, it's pretty nice. You can tell that there were some pre-made assets used, but most of them fit together fairly well. The music isn't unpleasant, and there's some voice acting when the party moves or executes commands that ranges from the halfway decent to the hilariously bad. And yet, it's actually a pretty fun game overall. Gameplay is quick, and there are elements of strategy that aren't utterly brain-dead and yet don't require a huge amount of concentration to pick up on. It has the randomized loot elements of a typical dungeon basher, and the variety of different hero types can be interesting to work with. There's nothing really stellar about the storyline, but it does the job of getting your band of mercenaries fighting tactical battles in a dungeon against monsters, and really, what more can you ask for? Add to this the fact that the price is relatively cheap, and it might be worth checking it out even with the bugs, especially if you catch it on sale. And the developer seems to be pretty active in terms of addressing issues. On that note, I'll leave it at that. Link will be in the description below, as always. This has been the RPG Crawler with Indie Game Friday, Demon's Rise, War for the Deep. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you've got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. Until next time, take care and goodbye.